Bore da. I don't know about you, but sometimes I find myself moaning a bit about this coronavirus. Complaining to myself, complaining to others. I'm fed up of unable to meet as a gathered church. Complaining about my restriction of movement and complaining that it seems as if this virus is never going to end. And some are even saying we'll be in it next summer as well. I'm complaining about my loss of holidays, and the list could be endless. And undoubtedly, like me, you too have been complaining about some things you have had to forego as a result of this pandemic. And then sometimes we have to read about others or some things that others have said in order to bring everything into perspective. Thinking about us unable to meet as gathered church. And then I read this quote: "We isolate now so that when we gather again, no one is missing." And how true that is. We isolate now so that when we gather again, no one is missing. And I would rather find myself unable to meet as gathered church and know that when we will be able to gather, no one has lost their lives, but that we're all together as a family rejoicing and praising God. And then in the midst of my moaning and complaining, I read about Terry Waite. And when you think about him, it puts it all in perspective. He spent 1,763 days as a hostage, isolated and in the most appalling conditions. And Terry Waite tells us to stop complaining. He said, change your mindset. You're stuck at home. You're in a safe place. His advice to us is keep your own dignity. Get out of your PJs. Form a structure of the day. Be grateful for what you have. Shelter, home, possessions. And then he said, read and be creative. And when you think of what Terry Waite went through, it puts this whole coronavirus with its restrictions into perspective. And so I must remind myself, stop moaning, Morgans, look at the bigger picture. And sometimes as Christians, not just with this pandemic, but we can find ourselves moaning about this, that and the other without realizing how blessed we are and how great is our God. And this pandemic to us is, I suppose, like Goliath was to the armies of Israel. Day after day he would come out and he would taunt them. And day after day they would see him and feel, will we ever get rid of this guy? And yet one day David came along. Goliath was just as big. He was continually taunting them, but David saw the bigger picture. He could see how small Goliath was in comparison with his God. And so he came out and stood before Goliath of Gath and said, you come against me with a sword and a spirit, but I come with a sword and a spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord of hosts. And down came Goliath of Gath. And so let us, instead of complaining and murmuring and moaning, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, on our great God, and see how great he is. Listen to what the scriptures have to say of him. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagle. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. We have a great God. Listen to Paul again concerning our blessed Jesus. He said he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things were created by him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church, the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have supremacy. Yes, I may be fed up with this pandemic, but I'm looking to God. Then sings my soul, my Saviour God, to thee, how great thou art. God bless you. Have a great day.